resellers, eBayers, and wannabe eBayers who haven't started yet. Yes, I get a lot of emails from those of you out there listening, learning, and you haven't started yet. So I am on board with that. I know I have a lot of listeners who haven't dipped their toes into the water yet, but don't wait any longer. Get started. You can do this. This is episode number 82 of eBay the Right Way, and today's date is October 12th, 2022. Today's guest is Genevieve, and boy, does she have some juicy nuggets of wisdom. So here we go, straight into the conversation with Genevieve.
Hello, listeners. We have Genevieve with us today, and such a beautiful name. And
Thank you.
I probably spell it wrong, but I'm going to make sure that I spell it right. Is Genevieve French?
Very French.
Okay.
It's the same word as Guinevere, but the French version instead of the English version.
Okay. Well, my name is actually French, Suzanne.
Nice.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. But Spanish, it's Susanna.
Oh.
So anyway, yeah, that's interesting. You don't see that name a lot, Genevieve. So
I'm lucky for it.
do people call you Jen or Jenny?
From time to time, I just most of the time I just go by Genevieve, but whatever makes sense, whatever fits.
Yeah, just whatever they say.
Yeah, I know they're talking to me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got that out of the way. And what is your location?
I live in Maine, on the coast. I live in a town called Falmouth, which is the biggest city in Maine is Portland, and I live literally the next town up.
Mm-hmm.
So right by the ocean.
Okay. You don't meet very many people from Maine. I don't.
No, there's the whole state, the population's a little over 1 million people that live here permanently. But during the summer, the population goes way up. So
right.
Literally our state, the saying on our license plate is vacation land.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely on my list of places to visit. And Zach was, he's in, I think, Bath, Maine.
Yeah. That's 45 minutes up coast from here.
And that is also the hometown of Stephen King, right?
Stephen King's from Bangor.
Okay.
It's another B. There's a lot of B places.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a beautiful state. Have you ever watched Aerial America?
I haven't.
It's a documentary. I think it's on the History Channel, but it's they actually do all this footage from drones.
Yeah.
And show the different states. There's one for every state, and it's just so beautiful the way the I guess cinematography is done, the way they film it. But Maine was just a beautiful one to watch. They showed different seasons and the coast and inland, and just sort of almost a pristine state.
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah, most of the population situated in the bottom corner, like the little pointy part. But there's hundreds and thousands of acres of just forest for most of the top half of the state. So it's it's untouched.
And 1 million people in your state total. That's really not very many by population standards.
No, not at all. No, and it's nice. You can one of the things I really enjoy. So I grew up here, but one of the things that has kept me here all these years is having the fact that when I wake up in the morning, I can go to the ocean, or I can go to a lake, or if I drive west, the White Mountains are right there. Within an hour, I can be all sorts of wonderful outside places. If I want to go hiking or swimming, or there's just a lot to do outside. It's nice.
Yeah. As the listeners might know, I'm moving from Atlanta to Greenville, and I was doing some research on population. So South Carolina has half the population of Georgia.
Wow.
And the Atlanta metro area, I think it's 4 million people.
Wow.
something like that. But the Greenville metro area is 1/10 the size of Atlanta.
Wow.
That means a lot in regards to traffic and
Mhm.
crowds and events you go to. Just, I'm really looking forward to a smaller city.
It's nice. It's
And
nice.
I don't think it's age. I mean, I think it's just when you get later in life, closer to, I don't want to say retirement because I don't think I'll ever retire, but you look at things like that. Like, how is your time spent?
Yeah.
Is it spent in traffic? And what's the stress level of living in these bigger cities? So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. So anyway, back to you. Let's talk about your eBay and how did you get started selling?
Well, so I've had an account with eBay since 2005. I checked, make sure I had that info for
Oh,
you.
so you're kind of a long timer, seasoned seller.
Well, no, actually.
Oh, okay.
I've been buying, I'm a seasoned buyer. But I've started about a little over a year ago. My youngest, Stella, had gone clothes shopping with their dad. And about a month later, they outgrew these clothes that they'd worn twice. And I started putting together a Goodwill bag, as you do. And I realized as I was doing it, I had this, I remember very distinctively this moment that I had this really cute pair of, they were black Levi's jeans. And I realized that was the second time I had seen them was when they were in my hands. And I was
Mhm.
like, there is no way I'm going to send this to Goodwill. I'm going to start selling. And that was my why haven't I been doing this all along moment?
That was your epiphany.
That was my epiphany. Yeah.
Defining moment of, wait a minute, I should sell this.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, and to think of all the money I could have made through the years doing it. And it's so much fun. Yeah.
Mhm.
But getting the so yeah, I started, the first couple items I listed were Stella's outgrown clothes. And then yeah, and then I started looking around the house, like, okay, if I was gonna do like a major like spring clean, what would I get rid of? What would I put in that bag?
Mhm.
So I do source, but a lot of what I do sell is just in my house. Like I'll be, I bought the calendar. Thank you. It's wonderful.
Oh, I'm so glad you like it. The 2023 is just about to come out.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I got a
Yeah.
lot of good feedback on that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
oh, you're welcome. I look at it every day, and I
Oh,
remember,
wonderful.
and I remember a few months ago, one of the things you had put was you had mentioned to go in your kitchen and just grab a couple things you don't use. So
Mhm.
that's been that's been a bunch of my sourcing. That's been like,
Yeah.
wait, I haven't used this, I don't use this pan anymore. Or yeah. And so it's sort of it's evolving that way, going through my dishes and stuff. Yeah, so I guess that's how I got started. It's a long version.
Well, and how long have you been in that home?
I have been in this house for 15 years.
Okay, so there's some accumulation.
There's a lot. There's I also have I have two children. My eldest child, Jack, is 20. So they've both lived here almost their entire lives. And let's see, my now husband moved in 7, 8 years ago. So he and it's funny, he was the roommate that had all the stuff, like most of the dishes in his apartment were his and that kind of stuff. So when he moved in, we did a lot of like, wait, which glasses are we keeping and kind of
Right.
stuff.
We don't need 2 or 3 of everything.
Right, like rolling pins and
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So there's some of that. Yeah, so we have a lot of, and we collect a lot of things. We're pack rats, so there's that too.
Oh, okay.
So this yeah, so it's good for many reasons, but yeah, it's really nice having the extra money. Not that money is ever extra, but
Another way to bring in revenue
yeah,
without having to do a lot of work. Just, yeah, I don't use that anymore. I'm done with that.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And I know,
Okay. So can you remember any things just laying around your house that you were inspired to sell and were surprised by how much they sold for?
I have this this pot I had it's by Dansk, It's their Coben style line, and they're gorgeous. And I
Oh,
found,
it's Coben style.
yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And so I had it, and it was, it wasn't in mint condition by any means, but I had it and I was using it, and I was like, I really want I wanted a new color, because I decided to switch my kitchen, updating it. And yeah, so I wanted blue. And so I sold that. I figured, and it wasn't in perfect condition. It was nice, but it wasn't like new, fresh out of box. And yeah, it was just a little, probably 2 quart. Yeah, and I got $45 for it. And, I think of that kind of stuff like that I source from the house as sort of like free sourcing. So I already paid for it. And it's not like I haven't spent new money on it. It's already here. So yeah, so I made $45 on just this little pan that I've looked at every day for 10 years. So
yeah, and if you think about it, $45, that doesn't sound like much in and of itself, but okay, what if you have 100 items in your house that you can sell for $45?
That's a lot of money.
That's where it starts to add up, is the consistency of listing, and you keep going with it. So, do you have any area of expertise?
Well, most of my eBay store is actually VHS tapes.
VHS tapes.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Started, my husband teases me because I'm really good at, like, I'll be at work or at my full-time job or my other part-time, and just I'll think of a movie I haven't seen in a long time that I really, really want to see. And inevitably it's not on streaming. So we've started, especially beginning of COVID, once things opened up again, it was like, okay, this is what I need to make me feel better. Well, times aren't good. It's like, I want to see this movie. So we started in our Goodwilling, because we are collectors. We always check the movie section, and sometimes we'd find things on VHS, and sometimes we find them on DVD. But just the thing that like hits the spot. And we were collecting VHS anyways, but I checked. I have 641 items in my store.
Nice.
Over half of them are VHS tapes.
Okay.
Okay, because the collecting, but also I know for me, like if we're at a yard sale, because I've been selling so many of them, if I'm at a yard sale and I see like a box of VHS, they're usually only like $1. And so if it's a box of 10, I'll just buy the box, and that's so I'm spending 10, but I don't list any of them that are worth less than $5. So I sell 2 of the 10. I've made my money, and then the rest of it's just cake.
Right. Now, do you test them?
Yes. I make sure they're rewound, and sometimes when you find them, they have you see little white stuff on it. It's mold, because they've been in a basement, and just you make sure they're nice and clean, and make sure they work.
So do you watch the whole movie, or just kind of spot check if it will play and then fast forward? What is your process for testing?
I put it on and just make sure it plays for a couple minutes. I also make sure that most of the time that they're rewound. I don't sit and watch the entire thing.
Okay.
So I figure if it works a couple minutes, it's probably, yeah.
Have you ever had any issues with the tape disintegrating? I know that if they're stored in like an attic where it gets really hot, the tape can actually melt. Wow.
I haven't seen that. I always open there's a little button on the side, and there's the flap that opens so you can look at the actual tape. Now I always check that to make sure.
Oh, okay. Good idea. Yeah. I remember selling some VHS back in the day, and I did come across some that were melted.
Wow.
So maybe that was just a rare thing, but are there any specific ones that you look for?
The ones that sell for the higher prices are horror VHS. So
yes, I have heard about that.
Yeah, if it looks like a scary 80s slasher movie, there's some teenager running around in a bikini on the cover. It's probably worth more than your average movie. Another thing I look for, which has been beneficial, is I look for the the weird ones, the odd things. Like it'll be, I'm trying to think of an example. Oh, like you'll find, a while ago, I found a copy of, I'm trying to make sure I get the right, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it was not, it was released by like it was like a special edition. It didn't say special edition, because it says special edition. We all know it's only so special depending. But
right. Yeah. That's a marketing thing.
exactly. But it was like it was a different box, because there's the mass produced, like the one cover that they do, and this one, the box was slightly different, and that one sold for like 20, 25, if I remember correctly. And it was just because the box was odd, it was different. And so when whatever I'm looking for when I'm out at Goodwill, I always look for the things that I remember. Like I love that movie, but that, like, oh wait, this one's different, I gotta look it up.
Right. Now, what year were you born?
I was born in 76.
Okay, so you're 10 years younger than me. Still a teenager in the 80s, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So have you heard of this thing called encapsulating VHS tapes?
I think so. Is it where they it's where they grade them like they would like a comic book?
Well, it's in a, I don't know what to call the thing. It's like a plastic, maybe. It's not glass, but it's actually inside this clear protective.
Yeah.
I guess it's a box. And that has become like currency. Though some of those are very expensive, can sell for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
It's a rare one. And that's kind of the thing now, that when some of these collectors go to estate sales, garage sales, that's all they look at is VHS tapes.
Oh, wow.
And somebody was talking about that. They couldn't understand. I think it was Mark Sherrill in Ohio. He was like, I couldn't understand why everybody's looking at the VHS tapes, and he's over there looking at the Bath and Body Works stuff and the cosmetics and the health and beauty, and that's when he figured out what was going on with it. But whoever would have thought? And it's not about playing the VHS tape. It's just about having a rare one, and it's encapsulated in this clear plastic, and it's just for display.
That's so funny. I mean, they're just commonplace things that we just always had around. I mean, some of my VHS tapes, I'm sure, came from my mom's house when I moved out in the first place. You know, they're just there. They're not. I mean, I obviously love movies, but they're not. They're just commonplace. Everybody has them. You know, that's just sort of a.
And I wonder, who is the ideal customer? Who's buying these? Do they just? Is it because the movie isn't available any other way, DVD or streaming, or are they collectors? I would be interested to know, like, who's buying these?
Well, I've wondered that too. I don't get a lot of, I do get a lot of positive feedback, but the feedback is like, oh, great seller, that kind of thing. No one says, oh my goodness, no one said to me, I've been looking for this movie for a long time, or like, I don't get stories with my feedback.
Right.
Occasionally I do, but I haven't with the VHS anyways.
Okay. So you can't really draw any conclusions, but
I presume I have friends that collect that collect horror VHS, so I sort of just presume it's collectors. But at the same time, well, I figure I know for me, if there's something I like I'm kind of minorly obsessed with Miss Piggy. So I have a lot of Miss Piggy things in my house, like a mug, and I have a couple mugs and just different things. But if I find something and Miss Piggy's there, I'm more likely to buy it because I love her. So maybe it might be they collect all things Sean Connery, or whatever actor or singer, or it's interesting. There's also I don't have a lot of them, but I have a handful listed of VHS tapes that are they're like instructional. I have one I listed the other day about doing turkey calls. I mean, it's listed for $5 and it's more for me because I'm new. I mean, a lot of this is cleaning out the house, but also paring down her things. But having, I really want to make sure I was working really hard when I first started to get top seller rated.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a category I know a bunch about, and they're really easy to list because
Mm-hmm.
they have all the information I need to know about it is literally written on the package.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just go in and fill in, all the categories, actor, director, and it's right there. So for me, it's quick and easy to do them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, most of them are listed for $5, but yeah, but I got top seller status like 2 months ago.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
thank you. I'm very excited. I worked very hard for it. And now they're doing, but because of that, my other stuff is starting to sell more.
Right.
Yeah, which makes a difference because I do have some more expensive things. Nothing like your autograph book yet, but
Oh, yeah. Now, and looking back, I should have put that on auction, but oh
but you,
well.
but you don't know at the time.
You don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what I had, I guess.
Yeah.
I was very happy with the $1,000 I got for that $3 item. So
Yeah.
definitely not going to complain. But and speaking of auctions, one thing I did in preparation for my move was put a lot of my bulky, breakable items on auction. Like, I don't want to move that. So I was surprised at how much sold.
That's great.
They weren't, I didn't have anything astounding, $100 things, but it was a good way to pare down the inventory and get those sales and get the feedback. And it wasn't all people that listen to my podcast or, that I've known over the years as students or whatever. One guy in Ireland bought 3 things.
Great.
I shipped some shoes to Brazil. So it was interesting to see. And I think, I need to revisit that because I don't want thousands of items in my home, but it's like, if it's something that hasn't had any offers, low traffic, never shows up in your send offer workflow, like let that go, it costs a little bit more, but so back to the autograph book, it's just, that wasn't my frame of mind. I didn't even consider that. So this has been a good way to gain more confidence in auctions because the main problem is people don't pay.
Yeah.
And then you just have to start over again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had some experience with that actually about this time last year in early fall. For some reason, it seemed like I'd have, there was like a couple weeks beginning of the fall and I had 4 of them, just nobody paid. So I've actually switched almost entirely over to buy it now. And now I have a better sense of, for me, it's easier to do the way my workflow works best for me is it's every morning when I wake up as I'm making my coffee, I send my offers then. So it's the first thing I do. So I'm like, so to me in my head, I'm saying, hey, eBay, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Everybody must out.
That's right. Now you mentioned you work a full-time job outside the home.
Yes, I work full-time at a natural grocery store. It's more of like a retail than like a food mart environment. I'm a manager there. And I also work 1 day a week at an antique store in Freeport, Maine, an emporium right on Route 1. I have a booth there because there's some stuff that there's some things that are big that I just don't want to ship. I don't see myself shipping a chair. It's just not me.
Yeah, I know. It's possible, but just because it's possible doesn't mean you want to do it.
No. And I'm surprisingly, I quickly actually, because of you, thank you. You gave me the tip of if you don't know how to if you're concerned about shipping something, someone else has done it and probably made a YouTube video with something at one point, like how to build boxes and stuff. I'm still not good at the Franken boxes, but I've watched videos on just like how to ship a mug. it's not that hard. It's just a matter of knowing like to wrap the handle and,
Mhm.
just make sure you fill the whole thing and all those little bits. But yeah, you can learn anything from YouTube.
And what I appreciate about a lot of those shipping videos is the creativity, the materials they're using. Everybody pretty much knows about pool noodles, and if you
Mhm.
slit them vertically and put them around the edges of things, or you can chop them up into circles and use them as like packing peanuts, but they're
Yeah.
much cleaner to deal with than
Right.
packing peanuts.
Mhm.
Just all kind of things you can do with different materials that the average person doesn't know, because when you
No.
come to eBay, the average person doesn't know how to ship anything.
Right.
And
Right.
it's just a matter of starting off with the easiest stuff that won't break
Yeah.
and getting in the flow of learning all the different moving parts of eBay. But I don't make a lot of shipping videos just because that is not my passion.
I understand that. I understand that.
So it's like I'll learn something new and I'll be like, oh, I got to make a video about this. People need to know this. And I just don't get that with shipping videos. And a lot of it's already been covered. So
Yeah.
I try to focus on things that maybe a lot of people don't know.
Mm. Yeah. I became well, obviously listen to your podcast. But that I do subscribe to the premium library.
Yes, you do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And some of the things you talk about, like I sell a lot of dishes. When I was a little kid, one of my my Grammy, my mom's mom, we used to spend a lot of time with her. I mean, she passed many years ago, but I remember being very little. And when I went to Grammy's house, she would let me open the china cabinet and I could use whatever dish I wanted. And that to me was the fanciest thing in the whole wide world for 5-year-old Genevieve. So,
Yes.
so I've always been kind of fascinated with dishes because of that. So I do sell a good amount of those as well. So, like you're saying with the shipping and the packing, like that's one of the glass is one of my passions. Because there's some stuff I don't love doing clothes. I know you love doing clothes, but like that's not my passion. So I don't have a ton of them listed. I mean, enough that I got started, but not enough that that's what I look for.
Well, but it's not that I just love selling clothes. That was what was most available when I started doing this. When
Oh,
you walk
interesting.
into a thrift store here, 75% of it's clothes. So it's kind of a bloom where you're planted thing, what resources are around me. And I am very picky about what clothes I sell. I choose fabrics I like to work with and that are durable and stand the test of time. Like, linen, 100% linen. That's been a thing for thousands of years. The Egyptians started that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it works today. It's, when you wear it, it's cool and breezy and all that kind of stuff. So I do have parameters on what I pick. And especially, I made some new ones, packing up my inventory. And it's like, I don't want to do coats anymore. They're just big and bulky and they take up a lot of room. And I'm not excited about them. But like athletic wear is taking off again because, during COVID, that's what everybody wore because everybody's doing Zoom and you only need to be dressed from the waist up.
Right.
Everybody's in their yoga pants with their nice top on. But and there's so many expensive brands of athletic wear, and it's small and it's easy to ship and it stretches. So it doesn't have to fit perfectly like, a woman's suit. Like if you work at a bank or in a law office and you're wearing a suit that doesn't have any give or stretch to it. And the swimwear is the same, most of it stretches. So it doesn't have to be a perfect fit. It can fit many different types of bodies. So, I like those types of things sell and they don't get returned. So, I got away from Anthropology. It just doesn't sell in my store. It's nice things, nice items, but eBay learns what sells in your store.
Yeah.
And so you want to look at what's working and do more of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what actually, that's how the VHS became the first corner of the house I was going to tackle was, well, I mean, I do kitchen things, like I said, but that, well, they're in the way. They're not big. They don't take up a lot of room. They're easy to ship. And I literally put them in a bubble mailer with my little thank you for buying something. And that's it. Print the label and I'm good to go. Because there's been other, I mean, like with shipping dishes, it is more of a project and I do make more money. But now that I sell a VHS almost every day. And even if it is, and so that way I figure with just the VHS, I'm making an extra $100 a month.
Yeah. And that's, listeners might be like, I'm not going to do something for $5. But if you already have it and they sell well and they're easy to do, look at the big picture. Okay. So it's $5 coming in every day.
Yeah.
You know, add that up over a year and that's significant.
It is. Well, they tell you, my aunt many years ago, I remember she quit smoking and she got a big jar and she put a couple bucks in it every day. And I remember after she had quit for, it was like 6 months, she went on this cruise. Yeah. Just because she tucked the money away every day. And that kind of stayed with me. That was when I was little, but with that, $5 a day adds up. So, and that way, and that's how I got my top seller status. Was so now, well, is because I was sold so many of them. And it's the excitement when my phone makes the cha-ching noise. Right. It's just, there's nothing like it. It's really exciting.
Yeah. So if you're in it for the long haul, I mean, you're not going to buy items to sell for $5, but
no,
you already got it. So leverage what you've already done. And I really like the rehoming process. Like this thing has been in my house for 20 years. I don't use it. I haven't even seen it for 10 years and here it is. And then you rehome it and the buyer gets to enjoy it and the item doesn't go to the landfill. And so, I mean, we're just like a bunch of ants just walking around, moving stuff from place to place.
Yeah. We're all just walking each other home.
You can have this now. I'm done with it. So, but yeah, you've sold a lot of things for more than $5.
Yeah, they have. With what you were saying with rehoming, one of the first like 5 things I sold was this little milk glass vase. I bought it at Goodwill, or maybe, I don't remember where I bought it even, but I remember I only paid a couple bucks for it. And it's just this little white hobnail milk glass vase. It's really pretty, but it was sitting in a cabinet. And I was like, all right, today I'm cleaning out this cabinet and I'm going to list stuff. And so, so I sold it very quickly. I think I sold it for like $15, $17. So not a giant profit, but it was free, sort of. And the woman that bought it, she left me feedback, but she left me actual feedback. And she said, thank you for putting this on eBay. I'm going to use it on the bride and groom table for my wedding. So the little vase that was just taking up room in my cabinet got to sit in this place of honor on the biggest day of her life.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so you just never know what somebody's looking for.
Oh, exactly.
And a lot of weddings now, based on what I'm seeing on Facebook and other social media, are sort of the farmhouse, shabby chic kind of, not super fancy, more laid back, it's in a barn. They've got the string lights and the clothespins with the photos and the fun centerpieces with the mason jars and just all kinds of stuff like that you don't know what somebody's looking for.
No. And there's a lot of that up here because it's if you get more than 10 or 15 minutes out of Portland proper, you're in the woods or near a lake. It's great. So there's a lot of most people up here tend to do the more rustic thing, even before it was hip. Like I've been to weddings and barns and stuff my whole
Mhm.
life. So it's really neat.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did down here in Georgia 100 years ago.
Yeah. What's the
Get
biggest
married in the barn. Now you mentioned your antique booth. Is
Yeah.
it actually antiques or is it more like the rustic, shabby chic looking stuff?
Um, Most of the stuff in my booth it's more, well, it's a lot of it's dishes. It's more rustic. I really like the mid-century stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's something I'm working on my knowledge base of that. I do a lot of, like I said, we're collectors, so a lot of sets of things. So, like the VHS, I do on eBay, but for a while I was collecting pulp novels. So I listed a couple the other day on eBay, but like I have a shelf with pulp novels, and yeah, but most of it's just rustic stuff. More, yeah. I mean, there's fancy shiny things, but I'll have like for instance, I have like an antique hammer in my booth, which is sort of odd. Like old wooden things sell well there, but like I found this beautiful ad. It's like a ladies community center. They have like a little thrift store down coast, and went there, and they had 5 different antique levels, and they're I mean, the thing's like 3 foot long, and I probably could ship it, but I don't want to. So so
Yeah.
so it's great. And it's like, yeah, it's that there's no finish on it. It does say Stanley, but it's just raw wood at this
Mhm.
point, if it was painted. So yeah, so stuff like that does sell in that environment. Um,
Do
yeah,
you sell on other sites
no,
besides eBay? Okay.
no, just eBay. And I've thought about branching out, but I'm doing so well on eBay, it just seems silly to bother.
Mm-hmm.
But once, yeah, so I'm feeling like I'm finally like getting established, and
Yeah, you get some momentum, and then it's all about how do you want to spend your time because, like,
Mhm.
you work a full-time job in addition to doing eBay on the side.
Mhm.
So you have to pick your battles there. And while people do sell plenty of things on other sites, Mercari and Poshmark and all those other ones, I just think eBay has the most customers,
Yeah,
um, the most buyers congregated in one place to purchase. They're there to buy stuff.
yeah.
And I actually had a question from a student the other day about wanting to start her own website instead of eBay.
Huh.
And my first question is, how are you going to get people there?
Hmm.
How are you going to get millions and millions of people to come to your site every day and buy stuff? And
Yeah.
then you have that factor of third party support where if something goes wrong on eBay, they step in and
It's
help.
yeah.
You have recourse as a buyer. It's that customer confidence. And same thing on Amazon and these big sites, because that's customer retention. You've got to treat your customers right, or they're not going to come back and they're going to tell everybody they know how badly they were treated.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does make sense. Like, oh, I could just sell this myself and I don't have all these fees. But you've
Yeah.
got to set up your website. You have to set up your shopping cart. You have to get people there. You have to gain their confidence because you're just some stranger on the internet with a website.
Yeah. Then
That's
there was a lot of
completely
them.
different. Yeah, that's completely different than eBay with their advertising and the number of people that use the site and all of this safety nets for
Yeah.
buyers. And it's just most people don't think about that. They're
No.
just like, oh, it'd be just easier to do it myself and not have to pay all these fees. But the big question is, how are you going to get people there?
Yeah. Well, and I like, as a seller, there are all those safety nets as well, but especially is international shipping.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't imagine even thinking about that otherwise. If I like, I
Mm-hmm.
would, it's really nice knowing that once I have it packed up, that I can just send it, and eBay will takes that extra time to really look at it and make sure it's going to work, and we can then double checking the whole process for me. So I don't have to worry about like, oh, is this?
Yes.
Yes.
So I get about one email a week from a student in my school who has some kind of issue with international through the eBay Standard International program.
Yes. That's what I
And
do.
sometimes it goes missing. eBay steps in and handles it. This case, the package was just stuck somewhere and it hadn't moved in like 3 weeks. And eBay looked into it for her and said, oh, the buyer refused to pay customs.
Oh,
And it's being returned. Or it was being held until they paid it, and there was so much time allowed for that. And then it's coming back because they refused to pay customs, which for the listeners, if you've never shipped anything international, you don't have to figure out any of that. It's all done when you print your label. It's based on the price of the item and the country the buyer lives in. So you don't have to know any of that. But this was an odd situation where the buyer just decided they didn't want to pay customs and refused it. And so things do happen, but your best recourse, if you have any issues with international, is first of all to reach out to eBay for Business on Facebook, because calling that 1-800 number, they just read scripts. They don't know how to help you. But there's actual people on that Facebook page, and they always answer me within a few hours. It's never a long wait. And then you've got, what they said in your Facebook messaging, so you can refer to it later if you need to, which that's so much better than a phone call because you have documentation of what you were instructed to do. So anyway, that's how it all got worked out. But yeah, I've had to file a couple of claims, got my money back, no problem.
Yeah, knock on wood. I haven't really had any trouble so far, but but I know that if I did, I can easily remedy the issue. It's not and like especially what you're saying with customs, that's a big deal because that's something I know nothing about.
Yeah, and how could you unless you were in that business, because every country has different thresholds and different rules, and we can't be expected to know all of that.
No, there's just not enough hours in the day.
No. And so people are intimidated by international shipping. They're like, oh, it's going to go into the black hole and I don't speak the customer's language. And, oh, I'm just terrified about it. And I mean, we're in a global economy. You're doing business with people in other countries all the time. You just don't realize it.
Yeah.
Like in your daily life. So now it's so streamlined that there's just no reason not to.
Yeah.
Do you remember what countries you've shipped to?
The first country I shipped to internationally was Australia. I had found, LL Bean is about 15 minutes from my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that brand.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Yeah. We grew up with it. I mean, my children's winter coats have always been from LL Bean. It's just, it's what we use around here.
And they have a lifetime guarantee, don't they?
They do.
So if you've had your coat 20 years and all of a sudden it falls apart, you can contact them and go through the process. And I think they send you a replacement, don't they?
If you go into the store, they examine it wear and tear is one thing. And then, just to figure it out. But yeah, they take pretty much everything back. And I've gone in. I had a pair of boots I bought, and it just whoever did the stitching must have just had an off day. But like the toe started to come up a little bit, which has never happened to me. It only happened once. So I brought it back to the store. They looked at it and they're like, so they made me. They gave me a gift certificate, and I just went upstairs and I bought the same boots. And I've had them for 10 years now. They're great.
Yeah, very durable products. So anyway, I interrupted you. You shipped something LL Bean to Australia.
Yes. I found this at this very 90s. It was an LL Bean. It was a leather jacket. It was almost like Carhartt coats, very square, except it was purple leather. And then the collar was green. It was it was like 90s science like high school teacher kind of vibes to it. It was really, it was cute. It was a beautiful color, but it was different. Like I remember them from when I was young, but it's not something you'd see every day. So I grabbed it. And the way our Goodwill works, or the Goodwills around here work, is they do have someone that goes through, and they have a special corner of every Goodwill called handpicked.
Mhm.
They take out, the nicer stuff that they're aware of.
Mhm.
And, so that will be more higher or eBay priced. But so because it said LL Bean and it was in good condition and a coat, it did cost me $25.
Mhm.
But I made, minus the $25, I did make 200 on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So LL Bean, Australia, international shipping, all of the things happened at once. And that was pretty early on in my selling. So that was really exciting. And well, because of the money, but especially that money made it so all the sourcing I had done for the past like few weeks was all paid for.
Mhm.
So anything I sold after that it was just all profit.
Yeah, I love
So,
it when that happens.
mhm.
So, and then what a lot of people don't realize is people in other countries will pay as much or more for
Mhm.
shipping than the item costs. Like they don't care. And this is a perfect example of an item that isn't made anymore.
Yeah.
Probably had that 90s new wave look to it.
Yeah, kind of. It was that color purple.
Like, where are you going to find that? And who knows what they wanted it for? Maybe they had one. Maybe they're doing something with the drama club. Maybe it's for cosplay. Like, you don't know unless you ask them. But
Mhm.
that happens all the time. And if you're not used to shipping internationally,
Mhm.
you don't believe it. You just absolutely don't believe that somebody's going to pay $50 shipping for a $20 item.
Yeah.
It's just, they look at it as this is my cost to get the item.
Mhm.
They don't care what the shipping is. And that is a hard concept to grasp, especially if you're a frugal person. You're like,
Yeah.
this is only 20, and look how much it's shipped. But seeing and doing is believing.
Mhm.
Because until it happens to you, you just are like, yeah, I don't think so. But then you're like, oh my gosh, look how much they paid for shipping for this dumb thing I found at Goodwill.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was great. So, yeah, no, but it's fun. Yeah, I've shipped to answer your original question. I've shipped to Australia. I sent something to England a couple weeks ago. I found this really cute little, it was an ET, the movie ET. It was an ET. It was like it was a child's like little like side bag, almost like a messenger bag, but it was from the tag said 81 on it. And
Mhm.
someone in England messaged me and said, thank you for doing international shipping. ET is my favorite movie. I collect all things ETs. So the fact that I could find this was just amazing. I didn't know it existed. So,
Oh, that's fantastic. So that's a great thing for listeners to know is if you find an ET plush that was made back in the day or a lunchbox or any of those things, it's just what people collect amazes me. And you've referred to that a couple times. So you collect VHS tapes
yeah,
and Miss
record
Piggy.
and Miss Piggy. Yeah, VHS tapes, Miss P. We have a lot of records we collect, and my husband's my husband's a graphic designer. But his side gig is he makes fonts, which it's fascinating. But so because of that, when I'm outsourcing, he's looking for ephemera.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a large accidental ephemera collection as well, just for like old magazines and just to look at the old lettering for inspiration. And
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
so it's fun. I have pretty soon I'm going to start listing some of the ephemera. Old magazines I've seen online can actually go for quite a lot of money if you get the right day and year. Or
Yeah. And if it's something that wasn't mass produced, like, the Time magazine with JFK on the front, like that they made so many of, or
Yeah.
the moon landings, it's all these little hobby magazines and how to build a canoe out of a log or whatever,
Yeah, the
all
do
this,
it yourself.
stuff like doomsday preppers want to know how
Mhm.
to make things. And so if it's wasn't mass produced, it's going to be worth more. It's just the rule of economics. The less there is of something, the more it's worth. So
Yeah.
what kind of magazines do you have that would be worth anything?
Well, we have some life magazines. We've been getting, I like old science magazines. The illustrations are really pretty. So we have a bunch of those. It's pretty random. I like a lot of the older, like cooking magazines, like where you get the recipes out of. And some of those I've cut up actually and have been using. So I won't be selling those probably. But yeah, a lot of cookbooks kind of. I have I've sold a couple, but I'm gonna put together some more. Those I remember when we were little, we go to the grocery store. I go to the grocery store with my mom, and they always had like next to the Jello, they'd have little like a special Jello cookbook. Yeah, or like a little Bisquick or whatever. And I have I started collecting those because they have a bunch of great recipes. And if it's just to find like like a neat cake design for like one of my children's birthdays, or because I just want to make everything a little fancy when you can. So yeah, so I have a lot of those. But yeah, if you bundle a couple of those together, they usually sell pretty quickly.
Okay. That's good information. Yeah. And I think it's just the less common something is, the more it's going to be worth. That's just a rule for everything.
Yeah. Well, the stuff I've sold most has been stuff that is can appear sort of run of the mill, but it's like I'll find like a pan and that my mom used to have, and be like, oh, I remember this pan, but the one I find is green, and for some reason the green one's worth a lot of money, but the other one isn't. So yeah, so knock on wood. Lately, I've been getting lucky by finding the green pants. So I always try to look for the one-offs of what people are used to.
Yeah. Well, and the desire changes. So this year it could be something in a certain color, and then 2 years from now, it's a different item. Like, oh, nobody wants the red one anymore. They want the purple or whatever it is, especially for things that do come in many variations. I'll go back to plush because it's very specific what people want. And it's not just, oh, this brand or, this gunned musical lamb or whatever it is. It's like, it has to be the pink one that was made during this time. And so you just can't really make up rules of what you should sell because it's constantly changing. It's just a moving target.
Definitely. I found that I don't have a lot of plush experience. I looked through it a little bit. I haven't delved into that mentally, honestly, but I did find Rainbow Bright's horse, Starfire.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, from the 80s. It was in the bottom of a bin, and her horse is white, so it was actually really clean, which was great because that's something I've found when I'm digging through the plush. It's not always the best condition.
Yeah, it has a definite ick factor.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I found it was white. I sold it to someone in, I want to say, Tennessee. Yeah, and it sold quickly. I sold it for $25-$30 and I paid $2 for it. I mean, that's a great profit. And they sent me a message and they were like, don't worry, we're going to take good care of it.
Oh, yeah, they treat them like they're people, you know?
They really do.
They call it a him or a her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other notable sales you want to share?
Oh, something else with VHS is if you get a set, a collection of them, those sell a lot faster. I found it was the Carol Burnett show on VHS, but it was this big box with all kinds of other of like literally all of the shows, and it came with a fancy book and stuff. And I thought it was kind of cute, whatever. And I looked it up, but that I paid $10 for, and I sold for $70.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was a good sale. I'm trying to think of the odder things. Um, one of the things I really enjoyed is in going through things in the house, I found this fanny pack that I had gotten for it was part of a Halloween costume quite some time ago. And I listed that, and it was the first thing that I sold while I was sleeping.
The overnight sale, right?
So those are my favorite. But I remember waking up in the morning and thinking, wow, I can sell stuff when I'm sleeping. And that was really that was early on when sales were, because it does take a little time to build, but when sales were slow, and I was thinking like, wow, this is taking up some time and space. And yeah, but I sold the fanny pack while I was sleeping. So that's,
and Warren Buffett, the billionaire, has a quote out there, something along the lines of, if you can't figure out a way to make money while you're sleeping, you will work yourself to an early grave.
Yeah.
That's what investing is all about. And this is something that the wheels are turning 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you can make money while you're sleeping, while you're riding your bike, while you're walking your dog. I think that's why one reason why people love it so much is that the more you work on it, the more money you make.
Well, and that's what it is. And you learn, you get an eye for it. Like one of the things, I've only sold a couple of them are a Hallmark ornaments. They have to be like the real, one of my favorite selling stories was, so I work until 2:30 and I come home, and my husband works from home. So he sits at his computer. So I come home and, start figuring out what's for dinner or whatnot. But I put on your podcast, as I do. And you were talking to someone it was within the last year. And they were saying that they were doing, that they were surprised about Hallmark ornaments, how certain ones will sell for a small amount and some sell for a large amount. And you were talking about it. I can't remember what guest it was. And so they, in the conversation, they're like, yeah, you had said you need to look for the older ones, but especially with the boxes, and the red boxes aren't usually worth as much, but if you can find a different color box, it's worth more. And I remember all of this very distinctively because as I was trying to figure out what's for dinner, we needed something. I forgot what it was. It was something simple like, oh, I thought we had more spaghetti or whatever. So we had to run to the grocery store. Now, our nearest grocery store to my house that I don't work at, because I love my job, but if I don't have to go to my job when I'm not clocked in, that's okay. So we up the ways, our nearest Goodwill is in the same plaza as the nearest grocery store.
Of course.
So I'm there a lot. I do a lot of stuff. So we went to so we grabbed spaghetti or whatever it was. And I was like, hey, let's just stop at Goodwill for a couple of minutes. And so we're there and looking around, and I found like, a couple little things here and there, because we're just going to do a quick stop because I was hungry. And my husband, he said, is this what Suzanne was talking about? And he held up this little Eskimo ornament.
Yeah, I know that line. It's like Frosty Friends or something.
Yes, it's Frosty Friends. It's Eskimo, and I think it had like a little polar bear with it. It was in the package. Like it was. I mean, I think it definitely had been open, but it was in the package. She's like, "This is what she was talking about." The whole thing's. It's tiny. Like it wasn't like a giant. It didn't play music. No lights. It was just this little thing. And it had $3 on it. So I was like, oh, I'll look it up. So I got out my phone and I looked it up, and there wasn't any listed. And there was one that had sold for $110.
Really?
Yes. So I listed this Eskimo ornament for $135, and I sold it for $135 within like a week or two, within like a week.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's one of my.
It's like the universe, the timing is perfect sometimes. And that was fresh in your mind. You just heard about it a few minutes before, and there it is in front of you.
It just appeared. It was
great. Would you have known about it if you hadn't listened to that and had it fresh in your mind is the
No.
question.
I don't think
Yeah.
I would have. And there's a lot.
Was it the like a ceramic material
Yes.
in the shape of an Eskimo?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I know that line because I found a snow globe,
Mhm.
musical snow globe with the Frosty Friends. This was
Yeah.
probably 2016.
Okay.
I remember things based on where I was living at the time.
Oh, yeah, that
Oh
makes
yeah, I
sense.
remember shipping it from that place. So yeah, and that sold for over $100. And it was the Frosty Friends with the Eskimos and maybe a husky dog or a polar bear or something else with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it sold for over $100. And I'm like, oh, file that one away. Hallmark Frosty Friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's what
But even the satin covered ornaments that are just like maybe they're styrofoam. I don't know what they're made of, but they look cheap and crappy.
Mhm.
And I found one that was Baby's First Christmas, 1979. And it was still in the box. And the box was it showed wear from age, but I'm like, okay. And I looked it up in the store and I was like, what? These little crappy satin ones? Like I'm always wanting to find Christopher Radko and Kurt Adler and was it Jay Strongwater? These really expensive ones. And that ornament was $1 and it sold for $79.
Yay.
And it wasn't even breakable. It was like so easy to ship. I didn't have to worry about anything. But yeah, you just never know. It's just the world is our oyster. Everything is out there waiting for us. You just have to have the knowledge to pick up the item and do a little research.
Yeah. And I think a lot about the word nostalgia keeps coming out of my mouth, but I mean, that's what it is. Like, I went to, we have a small comic book collection. And a few years ago, I went to Boston Comic-Con before COVID. And they had the Pigs in Space Miss Piggy lunchbox of my dream.
Pigs in space!
Perfect condition. And they wanted a couple $100 for it. And I didn't have the couple $100 at the time. So I came home and I ordered one on eBay. And I paid like 35, maybe $40 for it. And it was a little dented, a little chipped, but I used that thing for years. I was so happy about it. It's my favorite. But with that, it reminds me that the things that you sell don't have to be perfect. Like I don't sell glass with like chips in it, but if it's like, I was very happy with my dented lunchbox and I didn't need the big fancy one. And buyers aren't always they're looking for the nostalgia value, I've found. With the things I've sold. Like the movies, I've sold most of are the ones that were everybody's favorite. And with the Hallmark ornaments, I also wanted to say, lately I've been finding Halloween ornaments. And those are selling pretty well. You can usually buy them for a couple dollars. I sold one. It was a cute little pumpkin, a couple pumpkins stacked up, and I paid like $3 or $4 for it, but I sold it for $37. So yeah, so that adds up.
It is interesting, people who their favorite holiday is Halloween. It's not even really a holiday, it's just a celebration day, but some people love it more than Christmas. And I think it's because it's fun. You can dress up and do whatever you want. Yeah. And there's no gift involved, like Christmas. You don't have to worry about gifts. And then it's no like high pressure family situations.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, do I really want to go to Thanksgiving with Uncle Frank or whatever? It's such a fun holiday. And some people spare no expense
that's us.
And they decorate every room of their home, and it's just huge. Yeah. And if you don't know somebody like that, you don't really get it. Like, why would they spend $100 for this, mask or whatever it is? Yeah. And it's just, that is their day.
Yeah. Well, we love Halloween around here. I mean, the dressing up and there isn't much more pretty than autumn in Maine. So,
Oh no, that's
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, we all wait for it. So, so there's a lot of Halloween stuff here. There just is. There's a lot of locally. There's also we have a lot of apple orchards, and so yeah. So falls. I mean, all the seasons are big. I mean, the tourists come for vacation in the summer more than that, but I'm starting to see more and more people come in autumn to just look at the leaves and the. But yeah, my neighborhood goes really big for Halloween. We do, yeah, the costumes are elaborate and yeah, it's a big sort of like family night out. So there's a lot of Halloween items that I find at our local Goodwill. So the Halloween ornaments are like the new thing I'm selling, but we also, there's a lot of options.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have a grasp on this eBay business, and which is why I wanted to have you on, because I kept seeing your sales posted, and some of them were in my videos, and I probably butchered your last name, but
that's all right. Polifroni is not the easiest word to pronounce.
Polifroni. Okay,
yeah.
Good. We got that now. The last question I want to ask is, what kind of advice do you have for people just getting started or working full time and doing eBay on the side? What kind of advice do you have?
So I thought a lot about what to say for my like final piece, because I'm very excited. So I wanted to add that I guess just emphasize for me what's working is just stuff around my house and learning how to list things on eBay so I can successfully sell them. What I sold first were the things I know, like my daughter's jeans, or like I know a lot about that, and just the things around the house that are taking up space that you don't use. It might be someone else's treasure. Remember that. One thing that really that I used to have a lot of feelings about in the beginning was if someone sent me an offer, they would, I had a couple of people just like nickel and dime me for offers. And at the end of the day, it's $5. Just give it to them. I would have made more sales in the beginning if it wasn't over that, like a small amount of money. Because I think, oh, it's worth this. But at the end of the day, especially if you're buying it at Goodwill or you already have it, you've only paid a couple dollars for it. So whether I make 50 or 45, it's still $5.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think people they get too hung up on percentage. Like my offer, I'm only going to take an offer up to 75% of my price. And it's usually very analytical people that have worked in an industry where, like science and math, they are what they are. They don't change. It's always, that rule is always true. But this is like, well, how long have I had it? Sick of looking at it. Oh, finally a buyer. Yes, you can have this. I say that out loud all the time. Yes, you can have this.
I love that.
Like, thank goodness somebody finally wanted it, and so there is no rule on offers. It's just how you feeling that day. Maybe you haven't had any sales. Okay, yeah, you can have that. And then that opens up the floodgates for everything else in your store. It seems like if you go through a dry spell and then you start taking a few low offers, that gets the momentum going again. So you can't just be glued to, I have to have this price no matter what. This is a very fluid business, and you just have to roll with it, like you said. And you're never going to run out of things to sell.
No, and you never know what's going to sell. Like I only listed a bunch of VHS tapes because they literally were in the way. They were the ones that were sitting on top of the shelf but sideways because they didn't fit in. So I just grabbed those handful out, and I sold 3 of them within 4 or 5 days. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should focus on my VHS collection.
Right. Yeah.
We don't use them. They're just sitting there,
That's true.
There is gold in the house.
Yeah, you have to look for it.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on my podcast and share your knowledge. This has been very informative. I learned a lot talking to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've learned a lot from you through the years. So thank
Well, I'm
you.
sure my listeners have learned a lot because, who would have thought VHS would be a thing
Yeah.
all these years later?
Mhm.
And, now people don't have any movies in their house. Everything is streaming, or you can buy it and have it on your streaming account. And so it's kind of the opposite of what the mainstream is doing. But
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think that's part of why it's there's always that people that on purpose aren't doing the mainstream things.
Mhm.
And I figure those people are more of the collectors and the and that's probably who's buying them then.
Yeah, those rebellious movie watchers that want
Oh, yeah.
a VHS tape. Okay, well, thanks again. And we will look for you on the Facebook group.
Great. Thanks, Suzanne.
Bye.
I'm so glad we did that, Genevieve. It was so nice to meet you in person and chat with you about your business, and I learned a lot. Okay, on to today's trivia question. Where does gold come from? Yes, we know it is in the ground, but how did it get there, and why is there so little of it? Here are 5 seconds to think about it. Okay, the answer. While it's hard to believe, the gold jewelry we wear every day actually comes from the stars, and the science behind how it's created is pretty magical. All of the gold that's deposited in our planet was formed during the explosions of stars and collisions of asteroids, and eventually found its way to Earth over time. Researchers at the University of Bristol have found evidence that Earth's mineable precious metals, like gold, came from billions of tons of meteorites that hit Earth more than 200 million years after Earth formed. Likely the same meteorites that left craters on the moon. So I've been watching the series The Unexplained with William Shatner, and there was an entire episode about gold. I didn't know it came from outer space, so I figured maybe other people didn't know that either. So there you go. Thanks again for making this podcast part of your week, and tune in next week for a chat with Christy in Montana, who is a serial entrepreneur. I mean, I can't believe how much this lady gets done. Okay, that's a wrap for episode number 82, and I will talk to you next week. Bye for now.